I'm sitting here today with Jack Roddy, who is one of the founders of Delta Advocacy, and wanted to have a little conversation with you, Jack, because I only joined Delta Advocacy in 2004, but you have been with it since the very beginning. So, Jack, how did all this start?
Well, Lindy started 28 years ago, 1989, and how it started goes back to some meat and wood. One friend of mine, who was a dear friend of mine, who was a doctor, Lowell Frygard, in fact, his son is our treasurer now at Delta Advocacy, called me. Had a girl work for his office for years, had 3 children, just got out of the hospital with the 3rd child in December, and the husband took off. No heat, no food, no nothing. I had wood, firewood, and meat, and I was not the only one, but a group of us stepped in. Today that girl's remarried and happy and doing things, but I remembered that. A year later, Reverend Roger Keene was a Lutheran minister. Called myself and 4 people. There was 4 of us. Myself, Gordon Gravel was a developer. Bob Smith was the head of the Antioch Ledger. Leo Fontana was a former mayor of Antioch, and said, you guys are leaders of the community, and there's people in this area that need immediate help. And where do they go? And I remembered that girl. So immediately I got involved. We decided that it would be East County only, from Pittsburgh to Discovery Bay. And I asked Roger, I said, what is your goal? He said, well, the goal is to raise $100,000. And at that time I told him, I said, Roger, I'll personally guarantee it. If you give me, at least myself, 3 years to get it, I'll guarantee that. But my advice is don't spend the money. Raise the money and then spend the interest, so it goes in perpetuity. And also be tax deductible. And the last thing, nobody in the organization takes any money out of it. It's pure. That everything goes to what we intended, to help people in need in this area. So Lindy, that's basically how it started.
That's fascinating. So you have a goal of $100,000.
Correct.
How are you going to raise that $100,000?
I've been involved in rodeo all my life, had a lot of friends. And that year we put on a rodeo here. We fed 1,300 people. We had a rodeo, we brought in bulls and bucking horses and the charros, and it was a tremendous thing. We even crashed an airplane at the end of the arena. Biplane with Bob Smith, and it lost power and hit into a tree. That's a story in itself. But that year, it was a big crowd. We raised a significant amount of money. A year or 2 later, we had some smaller things like that. And 3 years later, we had the 100,000.
So when you want to spend some money, how do you decide how to spend the money?
Lindy, we've got a 20-man committee and lady committee, and we've got, I believe, 4 grant people on there. They don't have to repay anything as long as it's a legitimate need for our community from Pittsburgh to Discovery Bay.
And I understand the referrals usually come from ministers and the school districts, sometimes from city council folks who are out in the community and hear of a need.
Very correct.
Okay.
Ministers call people that need things. I remember the hurricane, I believe, quite a few years ago, somebody wound up from Louisiana out here, didn't have a car, didn't have anything.
Yes.
And we got them a car, and I can go on and on with stories about people in desperate need that we help. So I'm very proud of Delta Advocacy. I'm very proud of the people, yourself and John Martinez and all the people over the years here that have worked hard setting up tables and working to make this, to me, the one charity or whatever you call it, to help people. I'm very proud of it.
And then to wrap this up, do you have a favorite memory of Delta Advocacy? Could it be the first fundraiser?
I think my favorite memory is that year we worked hard. We had this rodeo, and I mean, we had more things going. We had charros and trailers and on and on. And we had those airplanes took off up the valley. And Bob Smith was a dear friend of mine. And I'm in my horse barn with a big crowd of people. And suddenly that plane went through cars and kids it hit a tree at the end of my arena, but it didn't hurt one of them. So I ran down to the plane and they're fine, everybody's fine. So back to my barn and a bunch of people come and said, Jack, that was terrible, wasn't it? I said, no. I said, we wanted advertisement for Delta Advocacy. I told them crash the plane into the tree. And people believe that I staged a plane crash.
That's great. Well, thank you, Jack, for talking about
You're
Delta
welcome.
Advocacy. You've been such a staunch supporter of the organization. We truly appreciate everything you've done for it over the years, and we look forward to many more years of
Thank
providing
you, Lindy.
for-
As old as I'm getting, I don't even buy green bananas anymore.